In the late 19th century, darkness cloaked the three-story rowhouse at 1302 Wood Street in Philadelphia, as whispers of the supernatural echoed through its hallways. Tenants, plagued by fear and disbelief, turned to their superintendent, Joseph Reed, with tales of a ghostly presence. A figure, adorned in a flowing white gown, materialized intermittently within the building's confines, sending shivers down their spines. Yet, Joseph, a man of rationality, dismissed these claims as mere flights of imagination. One fateful evening in November 1899, Joseph found himself engaged in conversation with a tenant within the first-floor dining room. The room, illuminated by flickering candlelight, held an air of eerie anticipation. Suddenly, a resounding chime pierced the silence, a visitor at the door. Curiosity urged Joseph forward, his steps echoing against the wooden floor. But as he swung open the door, a void greeted him, an empty threshold, devoid of life. An impish smirk toyed at the corner of his lips, attributing the prank to a mischievous local child. As Joseph retraced his steps, intending to resume their conversation, a mournful voice, laden with sorrow, erupted from the stillness. "William, I am thy sister!" it cried, followed by the unmistakable sound of the doorbell. An icy shiver coursed through Joseph's veins, eroding his skepticism. With trepidation, he approached the door once more, anticipation heavy upon his heart. Alas, like before, emptiness stared back at him, the absence of any prankster or specter. The door closed with a creak, sealing Joseph's mounting unease within the house's somber confines. Suddenly, a resounding thud reverberated through the building, originating from the second floor, an echo of a fallen giant. Joseph's bewilderment fueled his ascent, racing up the staircase with fervor, his heartbeat pounding in sync with his footsteps. But as he reached the upper landing, he found nothing amiss, the silence mocking his pursuit. Perplexed, he felt the weight of the unknown pressing upon him, a haunting presence that defied his logical understanding. Descending the stairs, Joseph's ears were met with an insistent knock, a clamor demanding his attention. Cautiously, he approached the door, his gaze shifting toward the dining room. A flicker of disquiet coursed through his veins as he noticed the room, once bathed in a warm glow, now veiled in shadows. A primal instinct urged him to exercise caution, to heed the warnings whispered by the air itself. Yet, defying his apprehension, Joseph grasped the door handle, its cold touch seeping into his bones. And once more, the void swallowed his hopes for a tangible presence, mocking his search for answers. An unsettling chill danced down his spine as he closed the door, leaving behind the phantom echoes that haunted the night. Uncertainty pervaded his thoughts, a fog of enigma clouding his understanding. The following night, darkness shrouded the desolate building, casting eerie shadows on its worn-out walls. Elizabeth Reed, Joseph's wife, cautiously entered the premises, her heart pounding in her chest. She stepped into the front room, her footsteps echoing through the silence as she wound the antique clock, its ancient gears creaking reluctantly. Little did she know, the hands of fate were about to turn against her. As Elizabeth busied herself with tidying up, a chill ran down her spine, raising the tiny hairs on her arms. Time seemed to slow as she glanced at the clock, only to discover its hands frozen in place. Panic gripped her, the subtle whisper of fear curling around her consciousness. Something was amiss in this place of forgotten secrets. Persisting with her chores, Elizabeth tried to shake off the unease that tightened its grip on her senses. But her efforts were in vain, for soon, a bone-chilling wail pierced the air, resonating from the depths of the cellar. It was as if the tormented souls of the past had found a voice, crying out in anguish. A surge of adrenaline coursed through Elizabeth's veins, overriding her instincts. She hastily abandoned her tasks, clutching her belongings, desperate to flee the building's sinister embrace. Though unfinished, the work called her back the next day, drawing her like a moth to a flame. Determined to conquer her fears, Elizabeth set foot once more in the accursed front room. But the malevolent energy that lingered within had other plans. In a macabre display, chairs swayed and furniture shifted of its own accord, defying the laws of nature. Yet the true horror awaited her when the tablecloth itself flung itself off the table, defying gravity. As if triggered by this unholy act, 3 thunderous knocks reverberated throughout the building, rattling Elizabeth's nerves. The walls seemed to close in, whispering ancient secrets, as she raced to escape the maddening scene. In the days that followed, the building's wicked presence claimed another victim, Ida Terry, a mere tenant seeking refuge within its walls. One fateful evening, a deafening noise erupted from the cellar, beckoning Ida with a sinister allure. Driven by curiosity tinged with trepidation, she descended the creaking stairs, her heart pounding in her ears. But the darkness held a cruel surprise, revealing a ghastly figure, a shadowy white man, his eyes burning with malevolence. With a violent gesture, he struck the lamp from Ida's trembling hand, seizing her wrist with a grip as cold as death. Terror propelled her up the stairs, her pounding footsteps echoing through the building, until she reached the solace of her room, where she sought refuge from the horrors that lurked below. Haunted by the inexplicable terrors that plagued his wife, his tenants, and the very essence of his building, Joseph Reed resolved to uncover the truth. In a desperate bid for answers, he summoned a psychic, a vessel of the otherworldly realm. With each step she took, the psychic could sense the heavy presence of a tormented couple, victims of a grisly crime that stained the building's history. Robbed of their lives and robbed of their peace, their spirits remained trapped within the very foundation that concealed their tragic end. Digging out the cellar, an insurmountable task, was deemed impossible. Yet Joseph felt indebted to both his tenants and the restless spirits that wandered the halls. The psychic's revelations had ignited a spark of responsibility within him, a need to bring closure to those who suffered beyond the veil. Seeking to appease everyone, Joseph diligently set to work, meticulously enhancing the building's appearance. He replaced the doors and windowsills and adorned the front shutters with a fresh coat of vibrant green paint, hoping that these efforts would eliminate any lingering issues. Alas, his endeavors were in vain. Despite Joseph's pragmatic nature, he remained open-minded and willing to explore any possible solution to pacify the restless spirits and ensure his tenants' satisfaction. Recalling a peculiar anecdote from years past, when a friend had preserved a rabbit's foot for good luck, Joseph decided to acquire one for himself. He sought out his old acquaintance and made the purchase, bringing the lucky talisman back to his office in the building. Unfortunately, luck seemed to elude him once again, as the mischievous apparitions grew even more active. Faced with no other recourse, Joseph Reed found himself compelled to excavate the building's cellar, determined to uncover the supposed remains of the couple whose presence the psychic had revealed. After an arduous 5-hour endeavor, Joseph unearthed a startling discovery: bones. However, upon closer examination, the bones appeared diminutive and unfamiliar. Uncertain about the nature of his find, Joseph sought the guidance of a nearby pharmacist, entrusting the bones to their expertise. The medical professional concluded that the bones likely belonged to an animal rather than a human, leaving Joseph perplexed and at a loss for what to do next. Having exhausted his efforts with the shutter painting, door and windowsill replacements, and the unexpected excavation of animal bones, Joseph found himself grappling with an overwhelming sense of helplessness. Struggling for a solution, the weary superintendent clung to the last vestiges of hope as he retrieved his friend's rabbit foot once more and reverently buried it within the vast hole he had dug in the cellar. Regrettably, his actions yielded no favorable outcome. Merely 2 days later, the tenants began hearing disquieting noises once more, their hopes dashed and their concerns resurfaced. Today the old rowhouse is gone. In its place is a self-storage facility. Perhaps the spirit is now enjoying hanging out in a small room with someone's drum set and baseball card collection. If you'd like to learn more about the hauntings in Philadelphia, please check out our book, Southern Ghost Stories, Philadelphia. Also, please like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily ghost stories.